Denise Mazzola is a certified professional dog trainer with over 20 years experience training dogs and people. If you've got a doggy dilemma, Denise can help.
Welcome to another episode of Doggy Dilemmas. I'm Denise Mazzola. On today's show, we are going to be talking about how to prevent dog bites. And in the United States alone, 4.5 million people are bit annually. That's a huge, huge number. There are millions and millions of dogs living in homes. So maybe relatively to the number of dogs living in homes compared to those that are bit, it may not be so bad, but still, when I was doing the research for this show, I was pretty shocked to find out that 4.5 million people were bit each year. The most at-risk population is children ages 5 to 9. So I've asked a couple of folks to come on and help me out today. So we have Juliana, and we have Amy.
Hello.
And we did some research on dog bite prevention, and we're going to talk about that and then have Jules help us out with a few things. Are you ready for that?
Yep.
Okay, good. And I just want everybody to know that you wore your dog earrings today, which is very nice. Vesta wants to get up on the couch. Can I join you? Okay. So let's just talk about like who gets bit and
Sure.
what people can do about it and.
Sure. Well, I think like your research that you did said that it is kids a lot of times. Mm-hmm. I think we also read that adult males are the second
I was surprised.
highest risk
I was
group.
very surprised to hear that.
And I think if we think about situations where people are interacting with dogs, people a lot of times ask me, like, oh, what should I do if a dog comes up to me on the street? And that is certainly one scenario where we need to use caution when we're meeting and greeting an unknown dog. But I think, and I know you did some reading last night, but the other type of dog that we need to sort of focus on and be careful around are dogs that are owned and in homes.
Yes.
So maybe for kids, it's dogs in their grandparents' homes, dogs in their friends' homes, other relatives, even dogs in their own homes.
Right.
Lots of times kids are bit by dogs that they're living with and they have some relationship with. So it's not always the stranger dog.
Right.
It's all dogs that we need to use caution around and be careful with.
Right. Jules, let me just ask you a question. When you go to a friend's house, can you think, like, do most of your friends have dogs when you go and visit?
Yeah, most of them do have dogs.
Mm-hmm. And do they have more than one dog or one dog? Like, we have 5 dogs, but we're sort of unusual.
Some of my friends have 2 dogs, and some of them have, like, 1 dog.
Mm-hmm. Have you ever gone to a friend's house? Now, I just want everybody to know that we know that you know a lot about dogs because you're my best friend's daughter.
Yes.
And you've been raised with dogs. Your mother works in animal welfare like I used to, so you're really up on what's happening. But so have you ever gone to a friend's house and been maybe worried about one of their dogs? Like if there's, you know what I mean?
Like one of my friends does have a really big dog that I sometimes get a little scared of.
Mm-hmm. Do you know what kind of dog that is?
I'm not really sure what type of dog it is.
Okay.
But it looks pretty scary to me.
Okay.
Just big, huh?
Yeah, and what's interesting is I know that you used to live with 2 big dogs before they got old and passed on, right?
Yes.
Allie was a Mastiff.
Yes.
And Biscuit was like a Shepherd something mix. She was pretty big too.
Yes.
So you grew up with big dogs, yet when you went to this home, my guess is that something the dog did made you a little bit nervous around him or her.
I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure because I've grown up with that dog, like ever since I was really little, and she passed away like when I was 5. I can't really remember.
So Allie?
Yes. I think when I was little, she made me a little scared about her big size.
Yep. Good. So thank you for clarifying that. I was making an assumption that you'd be great with big dogs because you grew up with them, but you're saying you don't really remember her too much. So thank you. So that's interesting. So a lot of your friends have dogs or more than one dogs, which is exactly what our statistics said. And you have even though you're around dogs all the time, a friend has a larger dog that makes you a little bit nervous.
Yeah, because I'm not really sure if it's nice or not. So I usually would ask them, like if it's good,
Well,
like if the dog is nice with other people or people that he doesn't know.
that's an excellent question to
That
ask.
is really excellent.
Right? And that's one of they're all very common sense things to do to prevent either like for me, to prevent my children from getting bit, or for you, for Juliana to say, oh gosh, I don't want to get bit, so I'll ask them, is the dog friendly? Or,
Yeah, that's what I mostly would ask but mostly some of my friends' dogs are like really nice, but most of them aren't so nice.
So some are and some aren't. Good. And you ask the parents, is the dog friendly?
Yeah, I usually do because I get a little worried about the dog and its size, and like sometimes they're like their teeth maybe they can like when they're really big size. It makes me like a little worried about the dog and see like he might hurt me.
Right. That's a very good perception to have.
But I think it's important to mention that, Juliana personally feels a little uncomfortable around this big dog, but big dogs can bite and little dogs can bite. So it's not necessarily about size as to whether or not a dog is friendly, right? Yeah. And sometimes it's the little dogs, that are surprisingly the nastiest. Just they're so small, they don't do the damage that a larger dog does. So it's just sort of interesting that way.
Like that's what I'm sort of afraid of. Like I've got I have had a dog. I have had a little dog jump on me, and it has hurt, but it doesn't hurt as much as a dog, a big a big dog jumping on me.
That's right.
Right.
So it's important to be careful around all dogs, right? Big and little. Yeah.
Yep. Okay, good. So of the 4 these are just some statistics from the Center for Disease Control. 4.5 million people are bit each year. 1 out of 5 required medical attention. So that's 885,000 people required medical attention. I'm not sure what their sort of parameters are for medical attention, but that's what it said. And in 2006, 31,000 people had some sort of reconstructive surgery.
Wow.
So it doesn't say that it's mostly faces, but my guess is that, if a dog bites you in the face, you're going to need some work. As I said, most at risk are children 5 to 9. How old are you, Juliana?
I am 7.
Okay, so you're right in there.
Well, this sort of goes with your question. A dog. There's this dog. I was gonna pet one of its puppies because I fostered one with puppies. I was gonna pet one of its puppies. It almost bit me. It was a tiny dog.
Right.
So
I remember that dog.
it almost bit me right here. And when it was almost about to bite me, I backed away a lot.
Good.
Because I was really worried that its bite could really hurt me a lot.
Right.
Because the dog might not have really good germs or anything on it. It could not have good things for my body.
Right. Yep, excellent point. And the other is adult males, which we've already said. So, Juliana, you've mentioned one of the things that to do for prevention, which is ask permission if you can pat the dog. And as parents, this isn't necessary for you, but for us adults, we need to supervise children with dogs, right? And I know your mom does that.
I'm sure lots of parents try to keep their kids safe from dogs. I'm sure plenty of them do, but some of them might not be able.
Right.
I'm not really sure. Like some of them might not be able for their kids, maybe.
Well, I think
go ahead.
In some of the reports that you read, sometimes it's, I just stepped out of the room for a minute, or I just went downstairs to take the trash out. It's sort of in those small moments of unsupervised times that something goes wrong, and because it wasn't witnessed,
Right.
people don't really know what went wrong.
Right.
So that the supervision is really important.
Yep. So one of the some of the reasons that why dogs bite, and I'm going to start with this one, which is protecting possessions, because Vesta here, she's 12, she has a bully stick, and that is a possession of hers. So one of the things is, I was always taught this as a child, was you don't bother a dog when they're sleeping or if they have something.
Yeah, because I think you know my dog Nova. She has this toy, and when I try to grab it, she growls at me a lot.
Oh.
And so that I take my hand away because she could hurt me. She could hurt me just by taking away that toy.
Right.
Because that's one of her possessions.
Right.
She really wants that toy.
Right.
And
Jules, go ahead.
I was going to say, and her growl is her way of saying, "Hey, Juliana, this is mine," right?
That's a
And that's
warning.
it's one way that dogs can communicate. So it's important to listen to those signals. That's great.
And my mom usually tells me, leave Nova alone when she's with her toy.
Right?
Right.
Which is where the adult supervision comes in, right?
Right.
So,
Right.
two good examples.
Yep. So another possession could be protecting their bed. So not all dogs like to have us humans join them on the bed. Some dogs will protect owner or property. So I see some of that as a smaller dog that might sit on a lap, may not want someone approaching them, if they're protecting the property. If a dog is sick or injured, right, that's a really good one.
Like you should probably, if it's sick or injured, you should probably try to stay away from it, sort
Right.
of, because they could have a disease that could hurt you. Like I have this dog Nora. She used to have this disease.
Right, she's been very sick recently.
Yes, but we were lucky. She almost died at Christmas because she had a really bad disease. I tried to mostly stay away from her because I didn't want to get sick from her or anything. So mostly she would rest in a crate or something. And I would try to stay away from her.
Right.
And when she would get her fluids and stuff, now she's now she's better.
Right.
She isn't sick anymore. And now I can pet her and
Right,
things.
good. Those are really good observations,
Because-
Juliana.
The dog could make you sicker than it really is because its germs would.
Potentially.
Yeah.
But I think the
Yeah,
bigger issue when a dog is sick is that they don't feel well. And I don't know if you can remember the last time you didn't feel well, but when I don't feel well, I don't necessarily want to be hugged or, I don't want to play with anybody or...
Well, yeah, because mostly if you get a hug from anybody, it can make them sick too.
Yes, person to person, absolutely. Yep, good. So if during rough play is often a time too when people might get bit. If the dog gets too riled up, they may miss the toy and grab an arm or a leg or something. Herding dogs, so that's the herding breeds like Border Collies, Australian cattle dogs. There's other ones out there, they're just not coming to mind. Those dogs like to herd sheep or other animals, so when children are running around, it often looks the same to them. And that's where we might get some nips or bites at ankles or legs. Go ahead.
Like my mom's friend Eliza, she has a friend that has a type of dog that she has goats, and she has a type of dog like that. One time I was like with the goats, and the goats were supposed to go to this one place, and I was still there, and that dog sort of went towards me.
Right, she wanted you to move in with the goats.
Juliana, get with the goats.
Yes,
You're in here.
he actually went charging after me.
Right,
Yeah.
it's not funny, it's scary, but that's the...
Yes, this is sort of like a medium-sized dog, sort of.
Right, right.
He started to come after me, and this was I was out in a field. I was in a field with these goats.
Right.
So I tried to move away from him and try to get inside before he would because he could actually hurt me from when I was if I just standed there, he could have possibly bit me or.
Right, because because he's hurting you. He wants you to move along with the rest of the flock of goats. And if dogs aren't worked on sheep or other animals that are appropriate, they will often try to do that with kids. And so the other one is hugs or moving into their space. So let's just take Vesta keeps getting up every time I want to talk about her, but she's she's restless. So when she's laying down on her bed, even if she didn't have the toy, I would instruct any child in the house to just leave her alone while she's sleeping. That when she's up and moving around is much more of a time when she wants to be interacted with and do things.
There's a couple other risk factors that I want to mention in there, and they include dogs who are tied or chained up or otherwise restrained have a high incidence.
And I was kind of surprised by that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure that I could tell you the reasons. I sort of suspect that a dog who's tied or chained has some degree of frustration, especially if there are kids running around or kids nearby or activities going on that the dog can't access. There's probably a lot of barking and frustration. And those dogs also, maybe can't move away. If something's coming in that's making them uncomfortable,
That's
they
a
don't
good point.
have a lot of options except to lash out. So in some of the literature I read, that's an extremely high risk, time. It also seems to involve dogs who are unaltered more frequently than dogs who are altered. So dogs who aren't spayed or neutered have a higher incidence of bites. And the third one is, unsupervised, and we already talked about that. But in some of the reading I've done, this woman who did quite a large study on fatal dog attacks specifically sort of narrowed everything down to those three risk factors.
And dogs that are not spayed or neutered have a hormone fluctuation that affects their tolerance levels for frustration, their tolerance levels for just everything, commotion or people in their space or whatever. And it also, dogs that are not spayed or neutered, when they get aroused, and I mean excited, barking, maybe a level of frustration, they are unable to recover from that as fast as a dog that is spayed or neutered. So those hormones definitely play a role in that. There's also three important factors that we as human beings, when we greet each other, right, we look at each other's face and we might hug or shake hands, but we get very close to each other and we get close to each other face to face. And yet dogs are a different species and they don't like to be greeted that way.
Some dogs might be very excited, might be very nice to you if you were getting close to them, but most dogs really want to have their own personal space and don't want to get really close up to.
Right. They're all different.
Especially if they don't know you or know you very well.
Yes, like it's like a person met a new friend, and they came over to that person's house and they had a dog, and they just and if the person didn't really ask if it was good to get her body close to the dog could mostly hurt her, maybe.
Right, and there's
you would mostly ask the person.
Right, and there's where you said it. You said if they didn't ask, right, and they just went ahead and did it. So that comes back to that whole supervise and ask for you, ask parents.
Because the dog mostly could hurt you, and
every dog is different, so some will and some won't. So dogs don't greet each other in the same way that we do. And so when we try to greet a dog, for example, a lot of times people do I call it sort of Frankenstein. It's like, oh, hi doggy. The dog is like, ah! That's because you're reaching over them. Like, do like this. No, so you put your head down and you blinked a little bit, right? Isn't that weird if I went like that to you? Right? So, and dogs are like, I don't like it either. And we walk right up into their space like that, instead of doing other things when we greet dogs that if we've had permission to greet.
Sometimes humans can be like dogs when, like, sometimes humans want a little personal space and they don't want people getting close up to them.
Absolutely.
So humans can be sometimes the same as dogs, but most humans like would shake hands, like you said, or like face to face. But most humans and dogs like to have personal space.
Right.
So I think the interesting thing is when it's a person, the person can say, "Hey, Juliana, you're a little close to me right now. You know, can you just give me a little bit of space?" Right?
Yeah.
Where Vesta over here can't stand up and say, "Well, Juliana, I am chewing this very delicious bully stick right now, and I'm laying on this nice bed that I like a lot, and I would really like a little personal space." She can't say that, can she?
No,
No.
mostly because dogs
Can't talk.
Yeah, they can't talk, but in a cartoon they might.
Well, we can put a little cartoon bubble over Vesta's head. But what I was getting to is, but Vesta might have other ways of letting you know, right? She can't say it,
like she could growl at you maybe to tell you, like growling is sort of a way of saying, can you please move away from me? I'm trying to like Vesta, she's chewing her bone, and if I put my hand really close to her, she might growl at me maybe, and like that's like I said, that's a way of them saying, can you please move away from me?
And some other ways I can think of is maybe she might show some of her teeth. Right?
Yeah, and
like
that could make you a little scared, but sometimes you can't see what they're showing, and you just go ahead and put your hand there. They can mostly might bite you or like do something to you.
And the other way I can think of that a dog can let you know that right now is not a good time, like I don't want to be petted right now, is for her to actually get up and move away from you, right? So she's making a choice of like, maybe not right now, I don't really like this situation.
This really isn't really a dog thing, but it was my cat. I tried to pet him, and he sort of just walked away from me.
Yep, and sometimes dogs will do that too.
And so if a dog makes that choice, it's important that we respect that choice and say, oh, okay, they don't want to be petted right now, and to let them move away, right?
Yes.
Right. Okay. So let's talk about, we've sort of we've talked about dogs that we know, and I just want to go over some other statistics that are kind of interesting before we go on to dogs we don't know. So 50% of dog attacks involve children under 12, and that goes hand in hand with the risk group, which is 9 to 11. 82% of dog bites treated in the emergency room involve children under 15 years old. So I think that other statistic is probably mostly kids that have, hang on a second, 75% of dog bites that ended in fatalities were under 10 years of old. And, unsupervised newborns, you just shouldn't have an unsupervised newborn with any type of dog at all. And they're totally helpless, obviously. And boys under the age of 15 years old are bitten more often than girls of the same age group. So maybe they're a little more rowdy. So let's talk about the dogs that we don't know. And, some of the safe rules of behavior, some of them seem very obvious to me, but they may not be to others, is don't treat a dog unkindly. So don't hit, kick, slap, or bite, or pull a dog's ears. We don't like that. Why would a dog like that?
A dog might not like that. Like you could just tell him this. Like you could just tell the dog to stop in a mean voice if he doesn't. Because would you really like it if somebody pulled on your ear or hit you? Would you? Dogs can't have the same feelings as you.
Right. That's just what you were saying. Sometimes people and dogs are the same.
Yes, because really, I'm not really sure I would like somebody pulling on me or pushing me or grabbing me by the neck.
Right.
And again, dogs can't say, hey, quit that, right? They have a growl, or they show their teeth, or they try to move away from you.
Or they bark at you, maybe.
Bark at you, like, hey, cut that out. That's their way of saying stop it.
So don't approach a dog you don't know. And I would say, that applies to strangers. We shouldn't be talking to strangers we don't know. Never approach a dog that's tied up behind a fence or in a car. If you find an injured animal, that was one of the risk groups, call for help. Always ask the owner for permission if you're approaching a dog that you don't know. To be calm. Always talk in a quiet voice, no shouting. When my kids are home and they start laughing or horsing around or their voices escalate, all the dogs in the house kind of escalate with them as well. So that's kind of a good example of that. And then we sort of get to the be still. So if a loose dog approaches you, has your mom told you what to do? If you're out and and some strange dog comes up, what are you going to do?
If some strange dog comes up to you and there's an owner with them, maybe, if that dog was barking or being not making you feel comfortable, you could ask. Like I said, you could ask their owner or like.
Right. So what would you ask the owner?
You would ask, is this dog safe, or
can I pet your dog? But what if you're out, there's no person around, you're just out, and a dog comes into your yard?
You mostly might want to stay away from it, because that dog could hurt you because he doesn't know you, maybe.
Right. Yep. So you can keep him away, but if you can't, there's also something called, have you heard about become a tree? Or be still like a tree?
Yeah, because my dog Nora, like I told you about, she always jumps on me and gets all excited when I move. But when I stay still, she doesn't think I'm exciting anymore or anything, and like walks away from me.
Right. So, Juliana, help me out. Is this being a tree?
No, the dog could get excited about that.
Right. So this isn't being a tree either. Be like a windy tree. We don't want to be a windy tree. No, we want to be what kind of a tree?
You would like to be just a stiff, hard tree, and doesn't want to move.
Right.
And the dog would get uninterested in you and just walk away.
Hey, high five that. That was good.
Nice.
Very good. And you may not, and the answer is fine. Do you know what to do with your eyes if you're worried about a dog that's approaching you and you're being a still tree?
Mostly, if you look away from them, they could get even more uninterested in you, and they would mostly walk away.
Right.
But if you kept on looking at them, they could still stay with you because they know that you're still looking at them.
Right. And staring at a dog is a threat. So staring at you, like you don't feel threatened by this.
Yes, but
a dog might be.
Yes, if you were staring at a dog, that dog doesn't like you looking at them, or if a dog is like this to you, he had a weird face to you when you were staring at them.
Right.
When you were staring at them, they would maybe do like you said, they might show off their teeth, a little bit of their teeth, and that can make you a little uncomfortable.
Right.
So if the dog's very wild, you mostly like to look away from them.
Look away and be still. Be a still tree. Yep. Good. All right. So let's get a couple of different dogs one at a time, and so we can just see some dogs, and we're gonna practice. One of us will practice with you being still and looking away and stuff. Even though all the dogs we have are friendly, and
yes,
know that.
I used to have a bunch of dogs.
Right.
And mostly I would try to stay away from them because sometimes they would not be happy with me because they wanted to be alone sometimes, and some of them were
And you're
very
an outgoing
jumpy.
girl that wants to say hi, and pat the dogs, and sometimes they don't want to be.
Yeah, sometimes they really don't want to be patted.
And I think that's a really good point that you mentioned. Sometimes that's with your own dogs, right? Dogs that you know and you're living with, right? It's important to respect their space as well. So I think that's a really good point you just made.
Yep, good. All right, so let's get Vesta downstairs with her bully stick, and then do you want to bring up Jubilee to start with?
Sure.
Okay,
Is that cool?
let's do that. All right, so Jules, we're gonna have Amy come in with Jubilee, and we're just gonna do a little role plays to help everybody learn how to ask permission and then what to do next. Okay, you ready for that? Okay, let's come on in, Amy.
Come on, dude.
Wow,
Hi, guys.
Hi, how are you?
Great.
So go ahead. What should we ask if we don't know the dog?
Excuse me, but may I please pet your dog?
Thank you very much for asking. Yes, you can. This is Jubilee. Come here, Juby. Oh, nice. Thanks for being so gentle with her.
And she seems friendly enough, right? Does she make you feel comfortable or uncomfortable?
Yeah, mostly now that I have asked the person if she is nice because she is big.
Mm-hmm.
Now that I've asked the person, it now makes me feel more comfortable
Good.
that I know that the dog is safe to pet.
Right, right. Good for you.
Now, let me ask you a question, Juliana. What would have happened if we were walking down the street, or maybe I came into the room with Jubilee and you asked if you could pat her and I said no? Maybe no because we're doing some training, or no, now's not a good time, or no, my dog's not friendly. What would you do?
I would just say that's okay, and tell them that that's okay, because I understand that you're trying to train your dog, or
Sure.
you're trying to make it so it doesn't, like, maybe the dog's not safe for kids.
Right.
Good.
So
Good.
sometimes, most of the time, people will say yes, but once in a while, the person will say no, and it's just important to respect that if somebody says no, right?
Once I asked a man if I could pet his dog, and he said, "No, my dog isn't really nice with other people."
Good. So good thing you said it right
important
out.
that you asked, and important that he, was honest with his answer too. So that's nice. Good.
Right. Okay.
His dog did look actually kind of mean. It was a German Shepherd.
Oh, yep. They can with the pointy ears and stuff. Okay, let's do it one more time with Frankie.
Sure.
So bring Frankie up, and I'll have you say no this time, so we
Okay.
can just role play that.
Okay. Come on, don't jump on anybody. Let's go.
So just come on right in, and we'll.
Come here. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Come here. Good boy.
Okay. Wow. All
Hi,
right.
guys.
Hey there. So what do you want to ask?
Excuse me, but may I pet your dog?
Actually, you know what? Thanks for asking, but I'm going to say no. He's a little wound up, and he's kind of big, and just now's not a good time, okay?
Okay.
Okay, thanks. Come here.
Good. Now let's just. Jules had a good point of asking where your dog likes to be patted.
Yes.
So come on back in and let's just have that conversation.
Come here, Frankie. Let me get him on the other side of me. Come here. Come here. Come on. Good boy, I know. Frankie. Hi.
Hello. If the person said yes, you mostly could ask them this, where he likes to be pet, because there could be a spot where he doesn't like to be pet.
Right.
Yeah, you know what? That's a really good point. And Frankie was electrocuted as a puppy, and he does have spots he doesn't like to be patted. So I would answer your question that Frankie likes to be scratched under his chin and on his chest if you wanted to pet him. And he is okay to pet, so you can do that if you want.
And that's a question to you. Do you want to pat him because he's a big dog? Maybe not.
No?
And the dog might make you a little uncomfortable.
Right, right.
Because you see that he could be really active, and
That's a good description of Frankie.
Right. He's very active.
he could be really active and might hurt me from it. He could be nice,
Yep.
but
Right.
his activeness, like if he's really excited, his activeness could actually hurt me from it.
Right.
Like-
But I want to stop you for a second because there was a good point that was brought up that we've been focusing on. Of course, it's dog bite prevention. So getting you and other children to ask for permission. But the other thing is to make sure that the child wants to pat the dog.
Yeah, that's a
because I
good
got
point.
the clear sense from you didn't really want to pat Frankie, right? He's big and wiggly.
She's very excited.
Right. So you
and
don't.
active.
Right. So it's perfectly okay to not want to pat him. So parents
good
and
point.
adults walking dogs need to know that maybe that child doesn't want to pat that dog. And that's it, and that's good too. All right, so let's just practice being trees. So come on over here with me and go out and just come back
Sure.
in again,
Come here.
and we'll do a little
boy.
role play. Oh my gosh, do you see that dog over there in the distance? Juliana, should we be a tree? Be a tree. And don't look at him. Turn your head. You turning your head? There you go. Good. And let's see what Frankie does. Sniff us. Be a tree.
He's not that interested.
Right. See,
Yeah,
they were
wow.
so boring that he walked away.
Right? And when we
Good
first came
job.
over, he was real wiggly and being a lot more active. So that was a really nice example.
Right. Okay. Are you going to be comfortable if we just ask Frankie to lay down and we finish up?
Okay.
Okay. So let's maybe switch places. Then you
Yeah.
can sit over here with him.
Sure.
Okay. All right. So this week's show on Doggy Dilemmas was all about preventing dog bites. And just as a quick review, spaying and neutering your dogs will not only prevent unwanted puppies, but it is also proven to decrease the likelihood that your dog will bite. Supervise all children with all dogs. And if you cannot supervise, then what I do is I crate the dogs in another room separate from the kids. Then you don't need to worry. I can cook, and I know that everybody's going to be safe. And for children, what should children do? Can you remind everybody?
Children should, mostly if the dog's really big, ask
Right, ask permission.
ask permission, and not run up to the dog.
Excellent. And what we just practiced, if it's a strange dog running around the neighborhood and you don't know what to do, what should you do?
You should be still as a tree.
Right.
And
Good.
not move and not look at them.
Right.
'Cause
Excellent.
Because the dog could get really active.
That's
and
right. And
jump
we want
up
him-
on you. And
Right. We want him to go away. So the more boring you are, the more likely the dog will go away. Excellent job. Excellent job.
Good job, Juliana.
All right. Any last thoughts, Amy, on dog bite prevention?
No, I think we covered a lot of stuff today. I think, one of the most important things that kids can do is ask and then be respectful of the answer, whatever it is. And I think for dog owners, you had a great point, and not all people want to meet and greet your dog. So
Right.
even though you're excited about your dog and you love them so much,
Right.
whether they're big or small, people may not be
Right.
that comfortable. So,
Yep.
yeah.
Good. Thank you very much, Juliana, for helping. Amy, thanks for coming and bringing your dogs with you. It was a great provider of role playing for us with the big dogs and the little dogs and stuff. So thank you again for tuning in to this week's episode of Doggy Dilemmas, and I look forward to seeing you next week.
If you have a doggy dilemma, Denise can help. Visit www.denisemazzola.com for more information. Denise Mazzola is a certified professional dog trainer tested through the Association of Pet Dog Trainers. The association requires recertification every 3 years with a minimum of 30 hours of continuing education. She has been training dogs and working with families for over 20 years.